Hey guys, we're playing some 200 no limit hold them. And yeah, we've been playing for like, I don't know, 30 minutes or something probably, and just losing a lot of hands so far. But I feel like I've had some interesting spots, which unfortunately you missed. And I know a little bit more about the players than I did when I started, which is good. I was just checking to give up here, even though I have bottom pair, like that's a board that sort of smashes him. And when he insta-check back, this guy likes to act instantly and doesn't appear to think very much. A generous description of a poker player if I've ever heard one. I'm going to bet twice here after he checks back and yeah, the ace comes. Because I think that when he checks back, he's fairly likely to have a hand like Jack 10, 10 9, 9 8, or something like pocket sixes, which whatever, if I win the pot, no foul. And so yeah, if I bet, I actually expect to make a good amount of money by betting twice as a bluff, because I think he'll call quite a lot on the turn and fold the river. The only problem is when he has like ace-jack or something and turned a pair of aces, which he's obviously not folding, and I lose a lot more money against that hand than I do by check folding. But I think that that happens a small enough amount of the time after he checks back the turn instantly that, it's an okay spot still. This is weird. That's a very, very small squeeze. I mean, I'd expect him to 3-bet bigger if there wasn't another player in the pot. So I think we can call with 8-7 suited. Obviously, we know nothing about this player at all. This is the first time we've ever seen him 3-bet. We have seen that he's like sort of aggressive. And yeah, we're just going to have to work stuff out post-flop. I think when somebody makes a squeeze size like that and they're unknown, overpairs are a fairly large part of their range. Given that, I think it's an easy flop call, just a lot of implied odds. And we're going to see what happens on the turn as long as this guy doesn't jam it in. Okay, the 10's a pretty good card for us. I mean, it lets us call the turn, and it maybe lets us jam. He's not folding. So yeah, we're just going to call the turn and hope to bink the river. Expect to get paid off pretty much always if we do. This has been a theme in this session so far. Making the strong draws and then missing in spots where it doesn't look like it's good to play them aggressively as semi-bluffs. But yeah, that hand was completely standard. Want my money back. I'm playing with a 10 buy-in bankroll, which is probably now about 9 buy-ins. So I don't actually I'm not very invested in any of the money that I have on PokerStars right now. I just, whatever. It's like play money to me almost. But I would like to be able to play higher stakes, so I sort of would like to win the pots more than losing them. Yeah, I think that hand was completely standard though. It's interesting on the turn if he ever folds anything at all to a jam. Because on the turn, even if he folds ace-king or ace-queen to a jam, it could be an okay spot. If we assume that he has all of his ace-kings and ace-queens and plays them this way, which is a fairly ludicrous assumption, but if it were true, then jamming with ace-8 high just to get him off ace high and make him not jam the river is, yeah, gonna be a little profitable. I think Mossified just folds every single blind. Well, it's working so far. I don't know, that was the first hand I've played against him in over a year, but what, 7 hands? Oh, he's sitting in over here. Look at that. But like, I'm going off what I remember, which is that he was on the tighter side. So what's going on? We're at 200 no limit. We just like sat at tables. I just did that. Whichever 4 I could get on first, which is not a healthy way to select tables at 200 no limit and above. It's not a terribly healthy way to select them at 25 no limit. But they seem okay. There are 2 pretty good spots on this table, it looks like, and I don't know if this guy's bad, maybe, but I mean, I'm not so impressed by the regulars at these games anyway, so for the purposes of the video at least, I'm okay with playing with 8 regs. There has been a lot of post-flop aggression out of the blinds. I've been raising this guy's blinds just every time, because every single time he's done that, and like instantly too. It seems like a good spot. I'm gonna fish tag him. Seems like a reasonable thing to do at this point. Yeah, there's been a lot of aggression out of the blinds, a lot of check raising going on, and it's hard to say over a smallish sample how much of that is, people having a good hand, because they've all been in spots where it's somewhat reasonable for them to have like at least a flush draw or something, or they're just way out of line, which they probably should be, given how I've been playing the buttons so far. Other than that, like, nothing too exciting has happened. We got it in good one time against a short stack Forever Go on this table, I think. Maybe it wasn't on this table. Yeah, I don't know. But I'll show you like one interesting hand I played. This was an interesting hand. Wired Shock, I'm assuming, is a weakish sort of player. He's gone already. And he opened. I think it's a pretty reasonable call. If he was really bad, 3-betting seems okay, but we're short enough that 3-betting sort of gets us in awkward post-flop spots where we don't have enough room to do stuff, so. And then we flop a very strong draw, a gutter, and a nut flush draw, and he half-pots. So it's a really weird spot, because it's fairly likely he has an ace, and fairly likely he's not a player who's going to fold it ever. Just like the bet size, the fact that he's a poor player, which means he's playing more aces than better players, most likely, and the board. So it's sort of like a question of whether we check raise here for value, because we expect to make more money in a pot on the turn when it's bigger and we hit, or what we do. Deuces is a little loose here, but this guy keeps folding and plays really badly, so we're playing a little loose. Anyway, he called the check raise, and he did it fairly quickly, if I remember correctly. And the turn is an ace, which probably is a good card for us after he calls, because it makes it less likely he has an ace. And obviously he's never folding an ace here, but we weren't really expecting him to fold an ace before the ace turned. It's obviously not as good a card as a queen or a diamond, but it's not such a bad card. And so the question is what to do here, and I decided he folds something like pocket sixes on the flop. I really hope. I would be surprised if he had pocket sixes. I think we can call here. So if I figure that he only has hands that are never folding, pretty much, or hands that I'm ahead of, it's a pretty sweet spot to check and plant a check call. I was really hoping to check it through. And then on the river, it's a brick, and we check to him, he bets, and I think it's another fairly reasonable check call. He has an ace a lot, but it should be a good enough spot. Backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw. I don't think I can fold this flop. It's really not the best turn for my hand. I don't know. Am I gonna like check raise here now? Well, I can't check raise, I'm in the big blind against the small blind. So yeah, I think it's a pretty reasonable call on the river there with king high. And I don't expect to be good like more than 50% of the time, but I only need to be good a quarter of the time. And I think a quarter of the time he flips over, you know, jack 9. 6-5 of diamonds, who knows. So I guess I floated, and then he stopped betting. I don't know how often he's check folding this turn, but I think what I'm going to do is bet the turn a decent amount and overbet the river a lot of the time. Okay, not that river. That was a shitty river. I expect him to fold like 0% of the time if I bet this river. Unless I bet, I could jam here. Does he ever call if I just jam? I don't think he does. So, I'm betting a little over 3 times pot. But I think it's a spot where a normal overbet actually gets called, and I have to go for a massive overbet in that spot. And if you watch my pay-per-view videos, I've looked at spots a lot like this, where I actually have a lot of 6s in my range. Even though there's only the 6 of hearts left, there are all sorts of ways that I can show up with the 6 of hearts on the flop, and then every single time I'm going to have it on the river after the way that I played, pretty much. He, like, never ever has the 6 of hearts, because his turn play is just ludicrous for him to have the 6 of hearts. If he checks on this turn with the 6 of hearts, it's planning to check raise every single time. So, if I can have the 6 of hearts and he can't have the 6 of hearts, it makes sense for me to be jamming sometimes, just straight up. And he's just not going to call. The first few times I do it, I don't think he'll ever call. Is this guy actually good? I don't understand why the table break and leave me playing with the guy I think is the spot at the table. I don't know, but he like insta-limped the button in our heads-up match. So, yeah, and I think if I just like make a normal sized overbet in that spot, I get looked up a lot. Because I think people at these stakes have worked out... Where did the replay window go? Have worked out that, you know, okay, if I have diamonds or clubs here, there's a decent chance that I go for a bit of an overbet if I decide to bluff, because it doesn't look like he's folding much of anything if I just go for a normal size bet. The 6 is like the brickiest of bricks as far as the river is concerned. That's weird. I think it's a pretty easy call. I don't think we can 3-bet against this guy. Well, I don't know. I guess it's heads up, isn't it? And we think he's bad. So... Oh, he'll fold so much worse stuff, though. I mean, I never think he folds a jack, which I guess means that I should be getting it in. I don't really think he's gonna fold, like, clubs or anything. Whatever about clubs. Yeah, I don't know. I get value from King Jack, Queen Jack, Jack 9, Jack 8. I hope. Unless I made him fold those hands. And I probably get value from some club draws which just call me after check raising. So yeah, to finish my thought on the 10-9 hand, like, just the fact that I can have the nuts, he never ever has the nuts, and so that makes my bluff look feasible. Just makes me think that that's the right bet size. I don't think I ever get called when I make that bet. I think he looks at a set of jacks there and folds. So, like, would I make that bet size with the 6 of hearts then? I'm weirder about balance than a lot of people. A lot of people would never make that bet size with the 6 of hearts until they get caught bluffing, at which time they would start doing it. I could see myself making that bet size with the 6 of hearts. Like, even when I'm not expecting to get called much. Which is sort of wrong, but it's also sort of nice when I'm, like, making a video and showing you guys that I'm making this play, and then we sit at a table together and I jam for 3 times the pot on the river. Let's talk about fancy play syndrome. People, especially at lower stakes, they say don't make fancy plays. They don't want to just spew doing something stupid where it's, not necessary. The ABC play is just going to work. So they say don't make fancy plays. And maybe you look at me jamming 3 times the pot on the river there and think, oh my god, that's such a fancy play. The play I just made was the ABC play. That's the thing. I just want to stress that. Like, your ABC game, when you have the nuts, sometimes your opponent never has the nuts and you want to bluff sometimes, is going to require you jamming all in. That's ABC poker. I don't do that much fancy stuff at a poker table because I find that the normal stuff is often pretty fancy. That was sort of a circular thing to say. But it's the truth. I think this guy might be bad. I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing him playing as a regular, and he's sitting at tables where there don't seem to be any bad players. So maybe he is. I'm going to call sevens on my read that maybe he's a bad player. Against a very good aggressive player, I think sevens is a bad call here. Against, like, any sort of not so great player, I think it's a reasonable hand to call. I can see donking on that turn, actually. So we have a choice. We can check call. Benefits of check calling are that if we boat up on the river and go for a check raise and he has a flush, I think he, like, almost always calls. It just doesn't look reasonable for us to have a boat. So that's pretty sexy. Whereas if we check raise against a flush now, we just, like, lose all of our money. What about, like, all the ace of spades sorts of hands? Yeah, I'm gonna check raise. If he has the ace of spades in hand, this is gonna look sort of weird and bluffy. So I wouldn't be too surprised to get called by it, or have it jam over me, in which case, obviously, I can get it in. It's a really weird river spot, because I don't expect him to call. I don't really expect him to call with an overpair. And I don't really expect him to call when he had, like, the ace something. The ace of spades with garbage. I think I still have to bet. Okay, he has a flush. That's miserable. I mean, I'm just gonna fold. I think it's a real easy fold. Maybe he has 9-8, but I'm not good here. He should have just jammed the turn. Saved me some money. Getting in with queens here. I could have called. Maybe I should have called. Yeah. Obviously, okay, that was a bad turn for me too, but obviously this one's a pretty bad turn for me. Making a set against, on the same card that makes your opponent a flush. Yeah, we're not doing very well on the turn, I guess. And the problem with playing regular tables instead of Zoom is now I have to just sit here and, have lost all those pots instead of getting to, like, insta jam all in because I have 4 new hands to play. Which is fine. Ace-Jack offsuit is pretty loose here. There's a weak guy in the small blind. I think it's okay to raise. And here we have, like, the middlingest of middling pairs on this board. So, it's fairly likely he has a queen. I think I'm going to assume this guy's very passive, and I can just check to him and show it down sometimes. And then when he bets, I'm actually just going to check fold. Seems sort of crazy. But that's my read, yo. We're going to fold 9-8 suited. Too many guys behind to squeeze, and I just don't know how Shan Z is playing post-flop, really. Super loose open on the button, but yeah, it worked. I might be giving these guys way too much credit, by the way. Like, a lot of the stuff I'm saying that they're doing requires a pretty intense understanding of how the game works, which they just may not have. Like, the play with sevens may have just been terrible, because the play with sevens was fairly heavily reliant on my opponent being able to get suspicious when he has nothing, or and not only get suspicious, but, like, then press the call or the raise button. And it's not actually a spot where I can have air, like, ever, in that spot with the sevens. Is it on this table? I don't remember which table it was. This is just not a spot where I have air. So if he doesn't think that I'm capable of making this play with, like, pocket fives, I think he's going to play really well against my turn check raise, and it's probably still a pretty good play because top set is just the best hand all the time. But yeah, I don't know, man. It would be really sick if he bluffed me, but I just don't think that he can do that. Do not give him credit for that play. Not just yet. It would also be really sick if he was secretly some sort of mega whale and made that play with aces. Whenever you fold a set post flop, you risk not being able to sleep at night. I think this is a decent overcall spot. What is in his avatar? This Pickle Joe guy. Looks like some sort of castle. I don't know if this guy's actually bad. Maybe I should unfish tag. Yep, that's going to happen a lot of the time that I overcall with fours, unfortunately. It's really weird that he checked the turn to me. Like, it just never makes sense. Like, every single time that they check that turn to you, they're check folding, pretty much. Sometimes they have a pretty good hand that they're check folding. Like, sometimes they'll have pocket tens and be planning to check fold. And it's just a spot where after I check back the flop, I'm folding almost 100% of the time, so it's just like some wires are misfiring in their brain when they check the turn to me there. By the way, if you're like going to check the turn with a balanced range in that spot, then that's cool. Where did the hand even go? Like, if you're gonna check King 10 to me on that turn, and you're like, you know, there are reasonable reasons to decide to do that, especially since apparently I mean, probably realistically, I never ever have anything and I'm betting 100% of the time as a bluff. I could have, like, Queen Jack, but, well, King 10 is better than that, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, if you're gonna do that, I think is a pretty sweet play. If you're a regular who checks the turn to me, I, like, may suspect that you are doing that, because checking the turn, as people usually do, is just so bad. Oh, so bad. Anyway, the game goes on. Hopefully we, like, get in some exciting spots. Four tabling is... it's really at the whim of the dealer as far as entertainment value. I could rant about things, but my life of late has just been playing Zoom poker, so I'm not an interesting person anymore. I think I went outside yesterday. It was, outside. Oh no, it was the day before. Oh dear. What's new with you guys? Should open Jack 8 suited here? It's a bad open. We're gonna hold off on it. This guy looks fascinatingly like Brett McKenzie. But, like, it's clear that he's not. There are a few things wrong, but the face is just, like, about as close as you could get to being Brett McKenzie without it being unclear that you weren't. It's a very fine line where his appearance is exactly. This is, I guess, what I'm thinking about instead of how to play poker correctly as we play these hands. Jack 9 suited is a loose open here, but, like, look at these blinds. Oh my god, everything's pink over here. So we, are opening a little bit looser. I think that's pretty reasonable. I don't know if, like, this guy's playing 10-0, it looks like, over 33 hands. Now he's like 9-0. So, I don't know why you post your cutoff planning to play 9-0 for 33 hands. It seems like if you're going to fold every hand, you could wait for the big blind. But I guess he decided that was going to be his line. So far it's not working out so well. Alright, we have the 8s. And we're like waiting for paint to dry on all the other tables. Another big problem with the like higher stakes games is that I think it's much more common for people to be playing 16 plus tables at these. Like at 25 no limit, I think a decent number of the regulars are going to be playing 8 tables or what have you. I don't think there are all the mass multi-tabling grinders. It means that these games are going to play pretty slow as we wait for the other guys to play their hands. I think this is a sexy board to check raise. But, you know, we didn't. After he checks back, I mean, I really expect to have the best hand here, like almost always. I really expect him to value bet 9s through jacks and never have anything better than that. So yeah, we're betting the turn for value, but on a lot of rivers we can overbet bluff. Queens just hit our small blind range really, really well, so it's quite believable for us to have a queen on the river. And if, say, he peels with an ace that he has, and then an ace comes on the river, I think that an overbet bluff might be really good. I guess basically what I'm saying is if he peels and then an ace comes on the river, we won't know yet that he did peel with an ace exactly. And I mean, I guess in that spot, I'm going to be bluffing a ton, therefore. If, like, I think that it's correct to bluff so much that I'm turning 8s into a bluff, because in that spot, I'm going to have, like, all of my unpaired hands still. This is exactly how I play every single unpaired hand, except maybe, like, ace-jack. I might check for showdown value. Maybe my checking range on the turn is ace-jack exactly. Exploitable me coming straight to you. But yeah, I just think it will be a really good bluff spot on the river there. So, there you go. You have to be careful about capping your range in poker when you're playing against someone who's capable of bluffing. You have to be willing to balance your range when you're capping it with strong hands sometimes, so that it's not actually capped, even though it appears to be. Or you need to be willing to, like, just face infinity disgusting, disgusting spots. We've got like 139 hands on this guy at this point, and he's actually opening his bluff. But a pretty reasonably low percentage of the time. It's such a small sample, though. I think that he's probably opening quite a lot wider than the statistics the statistics suggest so far. Wow. I sort of expect that Mossify just had a hand in both of those spots. Maybe he's decided I'm getting out of line, I don't know. I'm not gonna go crazy with ace-6 suited, though. Need a little bit more of a dynamic for that to happen. And calling the 3-bet in position with king-queen offsuit, I just think king-queen offsuit is one of the grossest hands you can call a 3-bet in position with, unless they're really 3-betting a wide range, which, like, if I open on the button and an aggressive regular 3-bet me out of the blinds, then king-queen, like, oh my god, I get to call with king-queen, yay. But in this spot, I'm just, like, dominated always. People don't really 3-bet stuff like king-jack suited or king-7 suited. They 3-bet the suited ace sort of stuff, and then like the ace-king and the ace-queen. Maybe they 3-bet like queen-9 suited, especially since there is a prop bet this month for who can win the most money with it. But I think that's getting pretty optimistic. King-queen suited, king-queen offsuit is just not a great hand post-flop, really. When it comes down to it, in reality, it hurts a lot that there are 12 combos of ace-queen and 12 combos of ace-king out there, and that they always get played against you. Man, I'm hungry apparently. Sorry about the stomach grumbling. I tried to start this video at the beginning of this session. You may have noticed that I had like 80 hands going into the beginning of this video. Those were before I started recording. Yeah, there was a car alarm going. And I was like, oh, maybe like a video with a car alarm going the entire time would be less enjoyable to watch. Maybe I shouldn't do that. So instead you just got my stomach grumbling and my uncle sounding extremely cute and endearing while playing with my 3-year-old cousin. Come on now, guys. Let's play some poker. Nope. Didn't work. It's amazing that like not only am I sitting here with no hands to play, but also the action at the tables is not changing. Look at these tables. They're the same. It's like they're frozen in time. The tables that were forgotten. I think we're just gonna fold 7-6 offsuit. So yeah. Like, regulars who are complaining about Zoom Poker and not wanting it, like, seriously, you guys? Have you tried to play these tables? Oh my god. Zoom Poker, I think, is so much more fun for a recreational player, and that's just good for the games. I think it's really good for the regulars, too, honestly. If you're playing Zoom Poker, it means that you get to like tune out other stuff and just focus in on one hand when you really need to focus on it. It means that you don't have to get distracted by table selection all the time. And it means that the recreational players get spread out and they like sort of go further. Because a guy who's like drunk lawyer feels like donking off $1,000 one night, if he sits down at a 5-10 table, that's one table, and only 8 people can play against him. And those 8 people are playing at one 5-10 table with 8 regulars and 1 drunk lawyer. But if he sits down at a Zoom table, the number of people who get to play against him is effectively much, much higher, and he plays so many more hands per hour that they all sort of get a similar shot at him. I don't know. Let's get 7 calls so I can squeeze. So far we're not doing so great. Oh, I thought that guy was calling for sure. It was not to be. Now we're in a weird spot where I don't even know if I want to 3-bet aces here. It's very rare to consider not 3-betting aces pre-flop, but like when Mossified opens under the gun and we're in the small blind, I think this is literally the strongest a 3-bet can ever look in No Limit Hold'em. I'd expect him to call with kings. So, given that, I'm gonna just call and instantly hate my life. I think checking is better than donking. He doesn't have to have any hearts here. Certainly doesn't have to have 2. So I think my hand is still fine. And I sort of want to check raise. Check raise for value. It's sort of thin and puts me in disgusting turn spots though. So I'm gonna pass. Just keep check calling. My hand looks like pocket 10s with a heart or something. It should be really appealing to him to 3-barrel, which is the one thing that I do have going for me in this spot. I don't know if he actually will. I'm assuming he's playing so many tables that my timing tells don't actually matter, but I'm still gonna like, yeah, I mean, here's the deal. I'm gonna finish this sentence and then press call. Seems like a good way to randomize my timing completely. also all the like ace king with the ace of hearts sort of stuff missed. Lots of stuff that he can very reasonably be bluffing with and can very reasonably bet the river. And he can still be value betting worse with like kings. It's a very easy river call. Alright. Obviously it sort of sucks that he has kings there and I have aces, and all I got was 3 streets of value that he was betting post-flop. I think that, like, thinking that... Sorry. Heads up display. I think that thinking, because of how that hand turned out, that calling was wrong pre-flop is pretty bad, though. I think it was a correct call pre-flop. I think, like, I was listing off a ton of other hands that he plays exactly the same way, I think, which we make the same amount of money against and which we would have made nothing against if we'd 3-bet, so. Nothing is wrong. We would have made $6. I think his play is very good, by the way. I think a good number of people are going to get just like terrified by that board for some reason and not value bet kings on 3 streets, but like I said, my hand looks like pocket tens with the 10 of hearts or something. It doesn't look like I have a better hand than kings here, especially after I call instead of after I call instead of raising, because like if I had pocket jacks there or some sort of flush dealio, I'm really going to be check raising quite a lot. I think jamming the river is just too thin though. Like the only worse hand I can conceivably get called by is like pocket kings or pocket queens, and he does have lots of better hands, so just calling the river seems standard. Bet turn, over bet a lot of rivers. I mean, obviously I turned the nuts, speaking facetiously. I turned a flush draw and a gutter. It's one of the best turns for my hand. A 9 or a jack would probably be a bit better. But after he check calls that flop, he's just going to check fold a lot on the turn. It's not a spot where it makes much sense for him to check call the flop, honestly. Like, he has to think that I'm going to play really badly for him to want to check call the flop there. What's going to happen when he check calls is he never has a 7. I have plenty of 7s in my range. Which just like almost by itself allows me to bluff with 100% of my range on the flop and then just bet with balanced ranges on the turn and river, and he's losing money on every street. So it's not so appealing for him to do that if I'm going to play well. Oh man, we're over 40 minutes. Guess I should go. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, 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 I should have plugged this at the beginning, because so many people are going to tune out, because I've been like so boring. But please check out my pay-per-view videos on my blog. It's www.gainmez.com, GAINMES. And the pay-per-view videos specifically are at ppv.gainmez.com. I think they're pretty sweet, and quite a few people have been buying them, and they seem to come back, so I'm assuming that's positive feedback. Please let me know what you think of them if you do check some out, because I haven't actually gotten anyone like giving me feedback and saying what they'd rather see or what they could have done without, and that will help me make them better as time goes on. But I think they're pretty sweet, and they're just 99 cents per video, which is like, I figure there are all these training sites which are doing monthly memberships, and it's $20 or $30 for a month, and that's just too expensive for some people, and they don't really need like a bunch of PLO and I don't know, Badoogie videos. They just want like the basic getting to know No Limit Hold'em poker videos, and they just need like, I don't know, 5 of them, maybe 1 a week, and So I figured, like, that market deserves catering for, and I figured I could do a good job of it. So please check those out. Let's play this queen deuce suited hand against the guy I think is bad. I'm gonna raise it. So many ways I can make a flush draw. Like, immediately, so many ways that he folds pre-flop. Wham, win the pot. So that's sweet. But then post-flop, I think queen deuce suited is a pretty reasonable hand to have in a 3-bet pot. Obviously, you know, I'd rather have aces. But we can't be too picky when the small blind opens. We only have so many good hands. So post-flop, we have all these flush draws, which allow us to barrel with equity, and then we can make a queen, which is going to be good for showdown, and we can play it for showdown. We're going to be in position, so it's pretty easy for us to value bet accordingly, value bet well. And yeah, obviously we just win the pot in position a lot, regardless of what our hand is, both pre-flop and then post-flop. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm pretty sure I just got completely obliterated, but whatever. I think I made some good decisions. You got to see me jam more than 3 times the pot on the river, which is cool. Yeah, go try that at your home games. I'm sure they'll fold. One thing that's nice about playing these stakes is that everyone thinks about poker sort of a similar kind of way, so you can predict what they're going to do when you make a play like that fairly well. Whereas at 25 no limit, if I made a play like that, I wouldn't be that surprised if someone called me with, like, pocket jacks. Well, actually, pocket jacks was a set on that board. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I wouldn't be that surprised if I got called by pocket queens, because they're like, well, I have an overpair. Can't fold an overpair. We're gonna play this one more hand, I guess. I just can't stop talking. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Lol, donkaments. I sort of want to jam. What's my equity against aces here, guys? It's not too bad. It's like, I have a backdoor straight draw, a backdoor flush draw. Those are both worth like 1 to 2% equity each. So I probably have 25% equity against aces. He's short, of course. I have very good equity against ace-king. Whatever. We'll do it for you guys. I think it's probably a little bit losing, but it's not that much losing. This is just minus $12 or something. Okay, that's cool. He did have the aces. I wouldn't have done that if I knew he had aces, but when somebody like min 3-bets pre-flop and then makes a really weird flop bet, it's pretty hard to put them on exactly aces. He could very easily have had some sort of flush draw, which I'm coin flipping with, or whatever, and we're pretty short. Okay, see you guys around.